Hi, welcome to Gene Rants. I'm Gene, and today we're going to be talking about famine in Gaza or starvation in Gaza, the accusation by the usual suspects that Israel is deliberately starving Gazans. These are all statements being made by people. Well, either they haven't been in Gaza or they're Hamas, one or the other. But I thought you might like to hear from, well, first of all, hear from a couple of actual Gazans, people who live in Gaza, and, well, what they are actually experiencing. In other words, directly from Gazans in Gaza about the food situation there. And then following that, well, let's show this one first.
أسواق غزة بعد مجاعة أكثر من 4 شهور يا أخوان بلشت البضاعة تملى السوق وتغرق السوق. يعني البضاعة إلها فترة كبيرة مختفية عنا يا أخوان، صار موجودة فقط الحين ناقص علينا بس اللحوم يا أخوان والفواكه. أما باقي البضاعة ما شاء الله السوق أصبح مليء.
بعد أشهر الجبنة الفيتا في أسواق قطاع غزة، هاي كان سعرها 70 شيكل 100 شيكل، اليوم بس ب10 شيكل. فرحة الشعب الغزي في دخول البضائع وهبوط أسعارها فرحة لا توصف.
You just heard from two actual Gazans describing the actual situation in Gaza. Well, you know what I'm going to show you now? Here's another video, and well, just watch the video. It's pretty self-explanatory.
Israel, as I've told you before, has stepped up supplies of aid to Gaza, and in Gaza City, the Thailandia restaurant, which, yes, had been earlier bombed, yesterday posted about the pizzas it was again making, and on the weekend showed its takeaway coffee and dessert. Elsewhere in Gaza, just yesterday, was the hot dog restaurant advertising its chickens. And last week, a Gaza supermarket advertised its full shelves and reasonable prices. Tin of tuna, $4.
There's your famine in Gaza. Okay, you just saw it. Two people in Gaza describing what's happening actually in Gaza. And, well, restaurants operating, plenty of food. There's plenty of food. And one of the indications is that you have the markets where the prices have really come down. I gave you the price in shekels, Israeli shekels. That's what they're using for the currency there. And I translated them into dollars, US dollars. But the main point is the ratio, how much, what it was before and what it is now. So this is not to say that there weren't problems before, and it's not to say that there's nobody in Gaza who is having trouble getting food. Just like I won't say that there are no places in France or England or Germany where there are people who are having trouble getting food. I would mention, well, I mean, United States, we have a homeless population, and a lot of these people don't look that well nourished, and it could be drugs. But the point is that you see it, you just saw in Gaza. If you want, I mean, that's what the comment section below this video is for. You want to dispute it, that's fine. I would also just remind everybody about that there have been a dozen photos of supposedly starving children in Gaza, and they have all, especially the most notorious one, the one that was was also on the cover of Time magazine, but also a front page of the New York Post, this supposedly starving child with a well-fed mother, and it's actually a cropped photo. You look at a wider view and you see a well-fed brother. The child had a disease, a congenital disease, and that was the case in all of these 12 instances. And, well, especially shame on New York Times, that photo that they characterized as a starving Gazan child was seen by 55 million people. The New York Times, because this was pointed out, they put on a web page a correction that the child was not starving, but that was buried, as they often do. You know, they'll put something on in the printed edition on the front page, and then they'll put something that corrects it, bury it in the paper, and that's what happened here. The web page that had the correction was seen by only 55,000 people. Okay, so 55 million people saw that false photo, and the New York Times had to admit that it was false, but that was put somewhere where only 55,000 people saw it. So, it's a war zone. It's a war zone. And, well, that's another thing we could talk about. I won't do it today, I guess, but wherever there's been a war, every war creates refugees, people who flee the area and they go to a neighboring country. This is the only situation that I know of. Somebody again can correct me in the comments, but where the people are trapped in a war zone where nobody is letting them leave. And actually, there was a headline I saw today: Gaza City, Israel is going to conquer Gaza City, the last remaining place where Hamas is able to function, and they are trying to evacuate. So there's your genocide. That's another accusation. They're trying to evacuate the people, and Hamas is shooting people and torturing people who try to leave. So 80,000 out of about I think they're 2 million or something like that. A lot of people in Gaza City, and the only 80,000 have left, and that's why. But more will obviously as the Israeli operations intensify. But this is the point is that Gaza, Hamas wants they don't care. They want their own people. I mean, have you ever heard of that anywhere, any time in history of a party that, even the Nazi, I mean, obviously the Holocaust, they wanted to kill a lot of, well, they managed to kill 6 million Jews, but for non-Jewish Germans, they had bomb shelters. They protected their population as best they could. Everybody does that, no matter what side you are on in a war. You protect your own people, except Hamas does not. They want them to be killed, and then the terrorists, they embed themselves in the population, civilian population. They booby trap all the buildings. You can go on the internet and you can find photos of kindergartens with tunnel entrances in them and weapons that are stored in a child's bedroom. That's what they do. And the world condemns Israel. So anyways, I wanted to show you, there you go, that I mean, part of genocide would be deliberately starving a population. And you just saw those two videos. You just saw, and the two gentlemen you saw, they were happy. They were excited that there's plenty of food coming in, and there will be more. The Gaza Humanitarian Fund, which the same people who hate Israel, they hate the Gaza Humanitarian Fund. They have already passed 91 million meals distributed, all right, in a month, for a population of 2 million. So I was obviously wrong with that Gaza figure, that about 2 million is all of Gaza. So maybe 1 million in Gaza City. But anyway, getting back to the point I was making, that you don't distribute 91 million meals to a population that you're trying to eliminate. Never mind that 20% of Israel itself are Arabs. They obviously, if Israel was bent on genocide, they have the population of Israel is 10 million about. So there are 2 million Arabs that they would be totally at the mercy of the Israelis, the Jews, if they wanted to, if they were interested in genocide. That would be the obvious place to start. So, but I guess with my final point, the Gaza Humanitarian Fund, that is an American organization, and they are hated. The United Nations is refusing to cooperate with them. And why? Because the personnel in the Gaza Humanitarian Fund, they don't work for Hamas. There are no Hamas members in the Gaza Humanitarian Fund, as there are in UNRWA and the United Nations organization supposedly distributing food. The food gets stolen, but often with the help of the drivers of the trucks. But Gaza Humanitarian Fund, the food, 91 million meals getting to the people, and Hamas is not able to steal it. So naturally, the people who hate Israel and support Hamas, they are not too happy about that. Well, they'll just have to be unhappy. That's crocodile tears from me. So anyways, let me see if there's any other point I want to cover today before I say goodbye for today. Distributing food, we pretty much covered that. There was another point I wanted to cover, but another day. That's it for today. Thanks for stopping by. If you could subscribe, that would really be great. As I said a couple of times, your comments welcome in the comment section below the video. Oh, I know what I was going to say. In all these photos, where are the starving adults? Where are the starving adults? So they had these false photos of supposedly starving children. So I guess the assumption would have been that parents are eating well, from these 91 million meals and not giving any to their own children. Do you believe that? I don't think Hamas could be that cruel. Maybe I can't believe that a typical Gazan mother would do that. And I would say, where are the starving adults in Gaza? I don't see it. I mean, when you see starvation, you don't just have 12. I mean, you could find 12. Venezuela is a perfect example. I remember seeing a photo of she was naked, I don't know, 12 years old, 14 years old or something, in under Maduro and Chavez. She naked, skin and bones, starving, barely able to stand on a street corner in Venezuela. But nobody is talking about that. And actually, I'll throw in another point. That's why this is called Gene Rants. This idea that Israel is supposed to, and we're all providing humanitarian aid to Gaza. Well. Did you know there's a war going on between Ukraine and Russia? Russia invaded Ukraine. Ukraine is attacking Russia, and the European Union and we too are sending all the weapons to Ukraine. But where's the humanitarian aid going into Russia? Why is the European Union not providing humanitarian aid for Russia? For example, Ukraine, they are, which this will be another vlog actually, it's part of, I think, a smart strategy the Ukrainians came up with, but they're bombing, they are destroying oil refineries in Russia. Well, people work at those refineries. You destroy the refinery, people are out of a job. They need money. And why? And that's the other thing. Hamas has plenty of money, bills for when the Israelis conquer a tunnel, they find wads of, stacks of cash. The members of Hamas are still getting paid somehow. So they have plenty of money but we're supposed to provide the aid. But where is the aid from these hypocrites in the European Union and in Scandinavia? And where is the humanitarian aid for Russia? Why is the aid that we provide Ukraine, why is not a certain percentage of it required for Russia, that Ukraine should give part of the aid they're giving, should use for humanitarian aid to the Russians? Why not? I mean, you can't have them suffer. Oh, we can't have the Russian people suffer. So this is it for sure. That's all my tangents for today, going off on a tangent at the end, as I usually do. Thanks for stopping by. Your comments, welcome in the comments section below the video. Share this video with anyone you think would benefit from it. But and subscribe. Did I say that? Well, I can never say it too many times. Subscribe, subscribe, subscribe. But most of all, come back and see me again. I'd love to see all of you again. And until I do see all of you again, bye.